We're gonna skip formalities, just do roll call and then go straight to the presentation.
Mayor Gerardo Anaya,
Present.
Vice Mayor Luis Galindo,
Present.
Councilmember Jesus Roldan, Councilmember Miguel Villalpando, Councilmember Juan Castillo,
Present.
Councilmember Marta Gonzalez,
Present.
Councilmember Lorena Delgadillo.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We're gonna have a presentation on fiscal year 2024 budget.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight's budget work session is to go over preliminary budget numbers to get any recommendations you might have on the different departments. We are going to have like 15-minute presentation of 4 departments, starting with the courts. They're going to go over the overall budget. We're not going to do a line item discussion. It's just a highlight of significant changes and any recommendations that you may have. So we'll start with courts.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Were a few changes in our budget. If you go to the second page, we have an increase of 23%. Some items that have increased significantly, I will say, with hopefully an explanation that is satisfying to you, will be the professional services. That's the one that I was hesitant in regards to the increase. However, I found that it was necessary, and that is from our fiscal year 2024 budget, 16,500 to 25,000. The increase is due to the new law that requires that the court appoints an attorney at the time of an initial appearance if the defendant is to remain in custody on a bond. So that attorney will be assigned on a temporary basis or limited representation, but one will have to be assigned. Most of the time that attorney will be assigned to be the attorney in the case if the case proceeds to arraignment and it becomes a case that we have to process in the court. The other reason there was, when I started in the court, I started receiving calls from attorneys that have a contract with the court telling me that they did not want to be part of our rotation of attorneys. And I have to persuade them somehow. I saw that the payment or the pay was $400 per case. These are all private attorneys, and I thought that it was an incentive will be to increase $50. So their pay now is $450 per case. Is half of that if it's limited representation at the time of the initial appearance. But that is some of the reasons why that amount has increased. The other increase is being the training for employees. In the past, judges have been the one attending training. In my opinion, leaving staff not updating their skills and their knowledge. So I like to have staff continue their training and updating their skills. A lot of times we're called to train other clerks, to train in other courts like San Luis when they were in need of training their staff. And I like for our staff to be top-notch, for lack of a better term. You'll notice under new interpreter testing requirements, unfortunately, we lost our interpreter. And I shouldn't use that term because he's still with us, but he did not pass the requirement of the test. And unfortunately, we have to let him go, and we'll start the recruitment process. That recruitment process will require that person that we hired becomes qualified, certified to be an interpreter for the court. If it doesn't have any certification yet, the state requires that the interpreter be certified. There's 4 levels of certification. Tier 1 being a written test and an oral test, and then tier 2, 3, and 4 is the requirement that the course required. So whoever we hired, we will have to make that expense once again. And this will be our 6th interpreter in this court. Not uncommon for the limited jurisdiction courts, and even in Superior Court, they're always in need of interpreters. The good news is that we have 4 candidates to be interviewed next week, and one of them, she has a certification of a tier 4. So we'll see what happens there. If you look at the training and the travel, those were also increases. And due to the fact that employees will be training more than in the past. The one thing that I want to make sure that I mention is the increase that you see in the salaries and wages. There is a position that has been, the court is asking for a modification of that position, and that is the judicial assistant. The judicial assistant position was hired under that title, which the limited jurisdiction courts do not have judicial assistants. The Superior Court judges have a judicial assistant, and he's mainly a secretary that answers the phone, talks to attorneys, but it's not the position that the limited jurisdictions have. The position that the limited jurisdictions have is a court administrator. That person is mainly the right hand of the judge, helps with the development of the budget, helps with the supervision of staff, and is also at this time helping in the finance department with some of the things that need to be done. Has become very useful for the finance department. The court is asking to change, modify that position from a judicial assistant to a court administrator, and with that, there comes an increase of salary. We have a situation in San Luis with an opening of a court administrator, and they made an attempt to recruit our staff, not only 1, but 2 of them. And I find that, that there's a change in pay that is inconsistent with what we have been doing with this position in other limited jurisdictions. We have an estimated budget for 2025, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chona, of 3,000. So her starting salary will begin at 28.35, which is equivalent to what is now the offer that they're making in San Luis for beginning, they're offering now almost 29 minimum. We're not gonna go there, but I definitely am asking to increase her hourly rate to 28. One area that I think that it has been a little bit hidden, and thanks to our finance director, she clarified for us how we should put it in our budget, and that will be the office and computer equipment. If you look at that item, is 12,274. The court pays half of that with the court enhancement account. So although it does state proposed budget of 12,274, it will be 6,137.21. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I have one, another services on 1053-37. I know, what's the 24,000? And then 1,800 and 24,000, it's kind of,
Under other,
service. Yeah, actually today's 24,000, the year before is 8,000 and you're only, so can you just explain what those 24,000 from?
I want to say that that was the Loomis. Did we take?
Posted to them. Therefore, we made that change, but it didn't, yeah.
Okay,
we
so
found
it's,
it during
okay,
so that so
okay.
technically that amount right now.
53. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I have a question on, can you scroll down a little bit on uniform allowance? You're asking for a 3,000 increase? Am I, oh, sorry. 2,200, I was looking at the wrong line. 2,200 increase?
Yes, the security officer is due for a vest, and that vest is about close to 1,000. The other, the increase has to do with the Fridays being a lax day for employees. I believe it's for the entire city, but our office has been very formal, and we have to because it's the court. But at the same time, trying to allow the employees to be a little bit lax. And we thought maybe a shirt with the logo will show the public a little bit more professional. So that's the increase that you see. In the past, it's been just the uniform allowance for the security officer for the 300 for shirts and, whatever he needs for his uniform. And then he's due for a vest. So we increase that, and then we put a little bit more for the shirts for the employees.
And on contract labor for cleaning of office, do you split that into, it's just one person that's split into city hall, court? And that's what you're assigning to the court now, 8,000?
Correct. Due to the fact that this for an actual or if we're gonna keep it at.
Shona, can you approach the mic and
Because I did notice on check registers, and I know you answered those questions about the amount that we had been paying the
Correct,
contract
correct.
employee, which was up there, very up there.
Yes. So at this time, it's still not permanent of what route we're gonna take, whether we're gonna go to an actual outside firm or if we're going to stay with, but we want to get something. So that's why all of that is split
How
up.
do we keep, is it clocking in? How do you keep track of this person's hours, of the
At-
contract?
At this time, they're
this
under
time.
Parks and Rec, and she does clock in, she does give a timesheet.
Thank you.
And Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez, we are, like Shona mentioned, we are looking at potentially hiring or going out to RFP just because we see the hours and we see the times and for us, for the long run, the efficiency part of it, so that's going to change. So just to let you know.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Thank you, Council.
good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify that all of these numbers are unbalanced budgets, it's just preliminary. Just to give us to start going through, when we start balancing, we know what your recommendations are.
Alexis Cruz, IT Senior Technician. As of today, the IT department is requesting overall 3 major items that will have an impact in our fiscal year 2025 budget, if approved. The first one, we are going to include other departments' software licensing managed by IT, such as Office 365, Adobe Pro, backup system, and remote support, which is a significant amount, but at the same time, the other departments should have a decrease on this line item. The second one is a request to modify the IT structure with a reclassification title and 1 new position, which is IT Security Network Specialist. Having this new person focus on cybersecurity and network not only will help the department to work efficiently and to provide better services to the other departments to meet the city goals, but it will also help the organization to be more prepared for cybersecurity attacks and or incidents. Also, the IT department has been adding tools since security tools since 2022, and will continue implementing new solutions and projects. And the third major request is a CIP project to get a new vehicle for the department. We currently have 2 old vehicles, one from 1998 and then the other one from 2004. Both were donated from other departments and both have some issues and need constantly maintenance, such as the seat belts don't work, brakes needs maintenance frequently, the battery drains after certain time if not used, the AC needs maintenance every summer, the gas pump has been having issues as well, and both cars are in not good conditions to travel. And so that's why my suggestion is to replace these 2 vehicles with a new one in good conditions. I think that's, other than that, you're gonna see minor changes such as in education and training, but we are requesting to move money from memberships and other services. I would say the other computer and equipment for new staff if approved. And we are also including new licensings if we have a new staff. and the IT department or other departments. And that's all I have. Is there any questions you may have, comments?
So looking at the justification here, maybe I misunderstood, but are you requesting like a vehicle for the IT department?
Uh-huh.
Can you elaborate on how you would use the vehicle? I mean,
Yeah, sometimes we need to take equipment from, let's say, public safety, sewer, or we also need to travel for conferences, trainings in Yuma, Phoenix.
the majority of the time is it, let's say, what percentage do you use it in the city with for conferences and all of that?
Like
Like what percentage out of within a year? Like,
almost likely we use it here in Somerton, within Somerton.
would it be like maybe 90% of the time you use it?
Uh-huh. Right, I would say 90%.
Any other questions or comments? Councilwoman
Um,
Zelaya?
So in your justification, you said seatbelts don't work. Well, that's illegal, right? So you don't use the vehicle right now
Yes, I do. One of
without
those-
seatbelts? Thank you.
We have approved budget for tomorrow on buy some seatbelts. That's not even. Any other questions or comments?
I have
Thank
I
you.
don't have a problem buying a new vehicle, but I've talked to Louis a couple of weeks, or maybe a month ago. You know, on the weekends, if you come to the city hall and if I go to church, I usually park here, but there's 20 vehicles parked here. And he said he's working on it, but like those two vehicles are not really working, functionable. I don't want them to see parked there. We should get rid of them right away, you know. Maybe we'll get $1,000 for both of them, but just get rid of them. Don't collect them there or don't pass them to the next department. You know, it's time to. But I will have no objection of buying a new car, but I don't want to see 30 vehicles parked there. The other day, one of the ladies that came for a meeting, she said she took 30 minutes just finding a parking lot because it was. And if we we have 30 vehicles maybe parked there on the weekends during the, so that's taking space for those people that really need to be parked there. So my recommendation, if we buy vehicles, get rid of those, auction them or give them to somebody, but we need to get rid of them.
Any other questions or comments? No, just, seek efficiencies. There's pool vehicles. Not everybody in the office needs a vehicle, so it can be a situation of checking out a vehicle and of course, it's, if you're in the field, you need a vehicle, but office, it could be, you get creative and see, but definitely no, we can purchase seat belts and, yeah, just.
and it's summer coming, make sure that AC works.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is community development.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Before you is Community Development Department's proposed fiscal year 2025 budget. Mayor and Council, there are no, across the board, everything is pretty straightforward. There's but a handful of substantial departures, decreases, or increases from our budget. Overall, we're actually projecting the lower budget for the upcoming fiscal year than we had the current fiscal year. I'd like to just touch on some of the more substantial decreases and increases. We are proposing to reduce our professional services line item from $150,000 to $100,000. And the reason for that is because we've had this line item be pretty high up there for the last 2 years in anticipation of all the major commercial projects that we know are coming. But as you can tell, the numbers for this current year and then the previous year just aren't reaching those projections. But we believe that $100,000 would allow us to cover all the projects that we know are coming for next year and have some room in case we get a few surprises. But I've listed some of the ones that we know are coming: Circle K, Fourth Avenue Gym, Sunset Clinic, Halls Apartments, the Comite Apartments, 24/7 Get Fit. I actually spoke with them this week. The old City Hall building has to get developed soon. And then across the street, the other building, major commercial. So that's that one. I also have a substantial decrease in the contract labor line item from $40,000 to $8,000. And the reason for that is because that line item was reserved for third-party inspections for commercial inspections. Our current building inspector is not certified for commercial inspections, so we would have to rely on a third party. Well, he's very close to getting a certification. In fact, he has to get it this upcoming fiscal year. But also not only that, but we've been able to work out a deal with a third-party inspector in which our inspector does a proxy inspection, but the commercial inspector signs off on it. So ultimately, he's still overseeing it. We project that we could accomplish that with an $8,500 budget for that line item. And then a substantial decrease in our software from $30,000 to $18,000. We are migrating entirely to the iWork platform for community development. We will no longer be utilizing the Acela platform. That's the biggest reason for the decrease. But we are also looking to pick up an additional software license for Bluebeam, which is a plan review software. It's Bluebeam is an industry standard for annotations and making comments for digital plan reviews. And then we're also looking to renew Trimble SketchUp license and to provide support for the GIS division of Public Works. But overall, though, that still amounts to a $12,000 decrease. And the substantial increases, now, we're proposing to create a new line item for the Planning and Zoning Commission and the other commission, which is the Residential and Commercial Advisory and Appeal Board. In the past, the expenses for these commissions, such as travel, training, uniforms, and equipment, was allocated from other line items. We discussed this with the finance department, and it's more appropriate that the commissions have their own line items. We're proposing to create this new line item with a proposed budget of $8,500 that would cover training, travel, uniforms, and dues for both of the commissions that we oversee. We're also slightly proposing to bump up the training and travel budget overall for our staff. As you know, we picked up an extra hire last year, and we have a full-time planner now on board. So the department has grown, which is why the added extra travel expense. Mostly the training is actually a decrease. Travel usually is more expensive than the conference themselves, when we've come to find out. The hotel and the vehicle rental is far out expenses the actual training. And then we also have a new CIP request for the amount of $55,000 for a new vehicle. We currently have 3 vehicles in community development. We have a 2023 Silverado, we have a 2013 Ford F-150, and we have a 2009 Chevy Tahoe. The Tahoe, we actually rescued it from destruction. The fire chief was kind enough to donate it to community development when we lost our Camry to administration. And it's been working for a year now. And when I say working, it's gotten us from point A to point B, but I shouldn't, the vehicle was slated for destruction. It's got a lot of things wrong with it. We've come to find out that the expenses are piling up. It's killed about 2 batteries. There's something wrong with the alternator. The AC has gone out. A lot of the electric motors inside no longer work. So it's getting up there in miles too. So the plan is to replace the Tahoe with a new truck, assign the truck to the building inspector, and to take the building inspector's current truck as the department's truck. We have the 2 vehicles that are assigned, one assigned to the inspector and one assigned to the code enforcement officer. So the inspector's current truck would become the department's general vehicle. And the Tahoe, as you discussed with the previous presentation, could be auctioned off. That's all I've got in substantial decreases and increases. Overall, it's a pretty straightforward budget that we're proposing. Any questions?
Any questions or comments?
I just have a quick question. Can you elaborate on the training, travel for the commissions?
Of course. So the Planning and Zoning Commission, the big one that they attend annually is a state planning conference, which is usually in Phoenix or Tucson. It's a 3-day at a resort. The conference itself costs about $450 per person for conference registration plus your hotel. It's usually at a nicer resort, so it can get expensive. Vehicle rentals, and then usually we take about three of them. But who knows? This year we might get an extra one, or we might get one less. But that's more or less what we need for the commission. Uniforms, they get one set of shirts a year, and then dues depending on the Planning and Zoning Commission, for example, they have to pay their dues to the American Planning Association, and the dues are not a lot because they're commissioners. They're not working professionals in the planning industry, so they do get a discounted rate. The $500 would cover that for all their dues. Does that answer your question, Councilwoman? Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Next will be finance. So overall, finance budget increased 14%. That attributes to similar to IT. Were a few items that were spread out amongst the different departments that didn't need to be. In other words, our express bill pay monthly services, our Loomis, Arizona Department of Revenue every year charges us a large amount to do their integrated tax system modernization project. So a lot of that came into finance. That's through other services. Another item that I would like to recommend is to move our part-time into a full-time position. Over the years, our city has been utilizing Arizona at Work people as full-time employees. They have been doing the coverage 3 months out of 3 months out of 3 months out of 3 months. And basically, we're utilizing them as full-time, not necessarily interns. So we would like to make our part-time now full-time in order to have that full coverage up in front for customer service. Also, training over the years, your finance director never went to trainings, it seems like, just by the history of the different ones. So that training went up for Arizona GFOA, the annual GFOA conference, webinars and training for our AP and our AR customer service. We did take on payroll. Therefore, the PSRS for retirement systems, ASRS for retirement systems, Grant writer has been included in the finance budget. Originally, it was budgeted for last year under admin. So she is now part of our budget. So of course, the grant writer conference and then the League of Cities conference. As well, you'll notice that the travel has went up substantially as well due to those trainings and education. Overall, those are the three items. And it sounds like this year is the year of a vehicle. Finance is adding to their wish list a new vehicle. Finance is not assigned a vehicle. We share administration's vehicle. We had 2 people take it up to Phoenix, and they won't do that again. It wasn't very dependable. They felt very uneasy. Got them there and back, but felt uneasy. We use the vehicle 3 times out of the week in order to go to the bank, do bank runs. So we're requesting on our wish list for a vehicle. So if you have any questions.
Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you. Council, that's the last presentation for today, for today's work session.
Any final questions or comments? No?
Just thank you, Shona. In the past, I don't think so we have ever got a breakdown description of even taxes, federal, this is new. So if we question something, it's because in the past we didn't know. They just said, this is the budget, this is what we want, and that's it. But I'm glad that you break it down, that, we can understand and we can ask questions, why is this over here? And now you telling us, oh, it was on the wrong line item, but I feel more informed and educated on the finance than before, because before it was, this is it, and it was kind of hard to follow, but I like this, so thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Jonah, I would like to concur on what Vice Mayor did state, and I'm really glad that you and your staff will be attending those trainings, especially you. It's very important to keep up to date on that, and thank you for that. I do have a question on the grant writer. You said it was moved to your department. So that amount of money was removed from admin and added to your department, or did you we had to add and you kept the?
No. We removed that money from.
And they moved it to yours, so you won't see a hit because they moved it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
I just want to mention on those lines, we have adjusted some of the areas that you just heard because of allocation. It's a clearer allocation and hopefully a better understanding of how the funds are being used for the different departments. And so if there's any other items or anything particular that you want us to focus on, you could please let me know and I can direct finance and the rest of the departments. We're trying to make this as streamlined but as transparent as possible for you so that all of us, are on the same page of how the funds are being used for the city. And again, I just go back to these are just proposals and numbers. At the end of the day, we have to look at the revenues, and then we'll, of course, come to mayor and council and look at the priorities that you will set, and then we'll move the budget forward. There is going to be wish lists, and we understand that. But again, we'll prioritize that, and if not possible, look at the different options to address those until maybe those can be somehow implemented in the future.
And like I mentioned earlier, it just on the vehicles, there is a need, but if we can get creative and have pool vehicles for office staff, I think that I don't think it works. It does work because my personal employment, that's what we do it, and we're engineers and we go to the field, but not everybody's in the field. We have part-time in the office, part-time in the field, so it does work. Yeah. 6:41, meeting's adjourned. Me mandó su presidente. Se hicieron bailar. Ya. Sí. Está más gordito. Todo. Este, no. Jesús Ortega y su grupo.